Christmas is around the corner, but Ava is working hard. Her uncle Carl, who is also an architect, shares a picture of a winter castle he has built for the royal family of Friorland. It is the castle of her dreams. He is satisfied with the exterior, but needs Ava's help to improve the interior. She doesn't want to leave her job and passion project to move to Friorland for this, but Carl knows how important this project could be for her career, to gain recognition. Ava understands this too, and agrees to meet him outside the castle. She's in love with the castle the moment she sets eyes on it, and feels like she's in the North Pole. Carl shows her the icy interior, and makes her familiar with the ancient royal family tradition of building a winter castle every year before Christmas in different locations. For the royal family, it's an annual getaway that culminates with the royal Christmas ball. It is an intimate affair with those close to the royal family, and the prince's most recent girlfriend. This makes Prince Henry sound like a womanizer to Ava, which is also something that the tabloids believe. But for Carl, the prince is a headstrong professional who knows what he wants. Carl needs her help to make the changes to the interior the prince has suggested, and knows only Ava can pull this off. The atrium boasts of a picture of Prince Henry with the king and the queen, his parents. His name is among the 50 most eligible bachelors, but Ava feels like looks don't define a man. Brigida Newton, director of operations for the royal family, approaches them with visible coldness in her demeanor. Carl starts praising Ava's credentials as an architect, but Brigida seems unimpressed and offended by Ava's inability to address her appropriately. Ava still tries to be polite, to assure her that she will just give finishing touches to her uncle's plan. With another rude comment about how inappropriate it is for Ava to be gawking at Henry's photo, Brigida leaves them to an overwhelming silence. Carl knows she can be a handful, but requests Ava to try and remain in Brigida's good books till the time they're here. Prince Henry is frustrated with the tabloids constantly posting gossip about him, the latest one being about his breakup with Astrid. Deputy von Trier knows the king and queen will not be happy with the news. He is, however, unable to provide any advice to the prince, since he remains unmarried to this day. Henry asks him to not lose hope, and knows they need to do some damage control for this article. Ava's room feels like a dream, especially with the stuffed polar bear her uncle specifically kept for her. The next day, Ava and Carl get to work and start improving the interiors of the castle. The king and queen of Friorland ask Henry about his preparations for the winter castle, and the woman he will bring as his date to the Christmas ball. Henry wants to attend the ball alone this time, but von Trier points out how bad it will be for their reputation. The queen has some ideas about his date, but Henry stops her right there. He knows he has the greatest example of true love in front of him. His parents were high school sweethearts who are still in love, and met when his mother didn't know he was about to be the future king. Henry also hopes for a love like that, but wants some space from people before he finds it. The royal family is about to reach the castle, and Carl is very pleased with how Ava has transformed the interior. As they wait outside for the royal family, Ava stands next to Maria, who assists the family with travel. Her boss is Brigida, who isn't warm to her either. Prince Henry gets out of his car and greets Carl, but his eyes stop at Ava. Brigida approaches Henry in a hurry with her daughter Sigrid. Maria informs Ava about a rumor that Brigida is trying very hard to plot her daughter's union with Henry, since he is single now. Henry is polite with Sigrid, as he is with everyone else, and remembers her from their childhood. Brigida attended boarding school with the queen, so their families have been acquainted for a while. Brigida makes sure to point out that Sigrid is moving to Friorland full-time after finishing her degree. With one more look at Ava, Henry decides to head indoors. Henry jokes about this being the coolest room he has ever been in, forcing Brigida and Sigrid to fake their laughs to humor him. While strolling through the castle later, Henry spots Ava and confirms whether she is Carl's niece. He knows everyone else in the castle, since this is an intimate affair, and wants to make an effort to introduce himself to her. She appreciates this humility from him. As they continue to get acquainted, Brigida watches them talking to each other. Henry respects Carl a lot, and appreciates all the work he has done for their family. Ava shares a story from her childhood where she built such snow castles with Carl, something she cherishes even to this day. When she even reveals her dream of being a princess in a winter wonderland like this, she knows she has overshared and apologizes. Henry is pleased to hear it, though, and asks about the ice slide she made for the children. Ava takes him upstairs while he's still nervous. She instructs him about the slide and asks him to sit behind her, and they both have a terrifying yet amazing experience by the end of it. They face von Trier on the landing, who requests Henry's presence for the Christmas photo. Henry had a wonderful time, and thanks Ava for it. Brigida fumes as she watches him leave. Henry gets a photo with his parents for the perfect Christmas shot. Soon enough, Carl catches up with Ava to discuss rumors about the prince having a romantic interest in her. While Ava thinks the rumors are baseless, he is worried, since she is an attractive and accomplished woman who doesn't give herself much credit. He still wants her to maintain a professional relationship with the royals, since he's worried about the consequences of any decision she makes. Ava knows her loyalty lies with her uncle and her career, and promises to stay out of royal affairs. Brigida looks suspiciously pleased when she greets Ava this time, and reminds her of the contract. She brings her to a warehouse away from the castle to design accommodation for the 5 royal pooches, which is a last-minute addition. She knows this will keep Ava occupied, and away from the prince, for the rest of her stay there. With this new task at hand, Ava stays up late at night in her room and prepares plans. The latest tabloid suggests a brewing relationship between Henry and Sigrid, with plenty of praise for her, and how suited she seems to becoming the future queen. Henry is frustrated about his one interaction with a woman turning into something like this, even if von Trier suggests Sigrid has been groomed for royal life, and Henry should give her a chance. Sigrid meets Henry for a walk, and describes the kind of princess she would like to be. She seems well-read and informed about the royal families, and can easily hold a conversation. He doesn't completely agree with her views, but admits that the history of kings beheading their wives is ridiculous. She is eager to know what would happen to a princess who gave birth to a girl in his kingdom, and whether she would be banished. Henry assures her that his country respects women, and a girl child is equally celebrated in their family as a future queen. She knows having girls runs in her family, but Henry isn't pleased with her thinking so far ahead about their future, when he isn't sure about her yet. Amid the sounds of the turkeys, Ava shows Carl her plans for the dog houses, and knows the royal family will be pleased. Carl has complete confidence in her abilities, and suggests she can check out the chapel for design ideas. On the lookout for designs at the chapel, Ava bumps into Henry again, but tries to steer clear. He calls out to her and politely asks her to join him. Ava learns that this chapel has been built for his cousin, who will get married there soon. Henry describes them as the ideal couple. Ava has some friends who are perfect for each other too, but she has never experienced a relationship like that. Her focus is strictly on design. Henry shares how Carl's designs are representative of the changing landscape in Friorland, since the people in his country are known to be resilient and respectful towards nature. Her surroundings have influenced her too, and inspired her passion for architecture and sustainable housing. Henry has a growing appreciation for her outlook on life. Later, the royal family's cross-country ice skating is a little harder on the exhausted king than his wife and son. They're still very pleased to be spending this time with each other. Their happiness is short-lived, as Henry spots a photographer and gets irritated that the press finds them even during their intimate moments. The queen is excited about a dinner that night with Sigrid. Henry makes it clear that he is not pleased with von Trier and his mother's attempts to make him spend time with Sigrid. He's not interested in her and wants to be left alone. The queen still asks him to give her another chance at dinner, just so he remembers his obligations as a royal. Henry is overwhelmed with these traditions, but the king points out that he will need to learn to live with them. Henry gets an idea and seeks out Carl to learn about Ava's location. He sneaks up on Ava again at the workshop and asks her if she wants to get away for a while. He feels overwhelmed with people wanting something from him and needs to take a break. Ava is scared about Brigida's response and shows him the designs of the kennels she is working on. Henry has arranged for the dogs not to come to the Winter Castle with them, and knows this was just a plot by Brigida for some reason. There's no reason for Ava to urgently work on the designs, even if he feels they would be perfect for his primary residence. Since he has magically cleared her schedule, she is now free to come along with him. He is friendly with her and enjoys her company. She agrees to meet him soon and can't wipe the smile off her face. Ava asks for Maria's advice on whether she should go on this adventure with Henry. Maria is sure it's a date and gets excited. Ava doesn't want to complicate things by getting mixed up with royalty, even if she finds him very attractive. Maria appeals to the playful side of Ava after mentioning the ice slide incident with the prince. She knows people are too formal with Henry, which is why he likes spending time with her. She has heard all about Henry's past relationships and Sigrid's intention to seduce him, which is why she doesn't want to get in the middle of anything. Maria has known the prince longer and feels that despite what the tabloids say about him, he is a true gentleman who cares for people. She doesn't want Ava to overthink and miss the opportunity of a lifetime. Ava gets dressed up to sneak out of the castle with Henry. This time, she sneaks up on him and startles him. She's a little afraid when she notices a gun, but he assures her it's only to scare off the animals on their ride and not hurt them. She trusts him to keep her safe and gets onto the sledge with him to ride away to their adventure. Brigida is hopeful about Sigrid's chances with the prince that night over dinner. She has worked hard to regain their family's nobility after Sigrid's grandfather passed. Sigrid understands her role in helping her family and promises to play her part. Ava and Henry ride across the country, making her fall more in love with the beautiful scenes. A little way ahead, they spot adorable polar bears at a distance. They reach the house where they'll stay for a bit, and Henry is relieved she likes it, even if it is plain. He wants to set up a few things before it gets too dark. At the Winter Castle, only Henry is missing at the special dinner. The king asks von Trier to find out about him, and Brigida decides to follow him out too. The king tries to awkwardly strike up a conversation with Sigrid and asks about her meeting with Henry earlier. Von Trier finds his room empty and gets on a call to find out where he is. Brigida approaches him to request additional time with the prince alone for Sigrid after the dinner. That seems impossible to Von Trier, who knows Henry is unlikely to turn up on time. Brigida's suspicions are confirmed when she checks Ava's room and finds it empty too. Von Trier shares his suspicions with the king, and even the queen feels like an American woman such as Ava cannot be trusted. The king gives Von Trier specific instructions to find out more about Ava's motives. Henry prepares a plate while Ava sketches something. He walks over to check her designs, which are mock-ups for her sustainable housing project for the lower income group. He is concerned about this housing crisis in his country too, and requests for her advice over dinner. He graciously takes her hand to escort her to the dinner table he prepared with wine and flowers. Ava is impressed and wastes no time before digging in, while he offers to pour wine. It's soon clear that he has never opened a bottle of wine, so Ava teaches him and expertly explains the process. He's embarrassed about lacking such basic skills, but eager to share what he knows about the food. Since he wants to know more about her, Ava describes herself as someone who wants to make a difference in the world through architecture. She wants to start a family too, eventually, but knows it will wait till it's the right time. He takes her outside to watch the northern lights, which were believed to be earthly manifestations of the gods by the Viking ancestors. She decides to make a wish, and he insists he wants to know if it comes true. Brigida is more than happy to share the file on Ava when she is approached by Von Trier. The king and queen thank the guests after dinner and apologize for Henry's absence due to his duties. Sigrid pretends to be understanding. Meanwhile, Henry and Ava are back, and he wishes to see her again soon. But he knows he needs to spend the entire day in hiding to prepare for his annual address to the nation. He's very serious about his speech since it will set the tone for the coming year, and he wants it to be heartfelt. She offers to help him if her uncle agrees to it. Von Trier is looking at Ava's credentials when Sigrid and Brigida come running to inform him of Henry's return. Sigrid claims to be very embarrassed by what happened at the dinner, so Von Trier promises to take care of it. He catches Henry and expresses concern about his safety, since no one knew where he was. Henry didn't mean to hurt anyone, and asks Von Trier to apologize to Sigrid for missing the dinner. When Von Trier suggests adding an invitation to the ball for her, Henry laughs, and finally seems to understand why he's still single. Brigida and Sigrid are trying to overhear this conversation. But Sigrid gets restless when nothing seems clear, and starts discussing how unrefined Ava is. Henry hears some commotion, so they know they need to leave immediately. The next morning, Ava and Henry wake up feeling very happy. Carl knows Brigida must have assigned the doghouses to Ava, just to keep her away from Henry. Ava asks for his permission to help Henry with his speech, and assures him that she is a professional and only wants to help him. Carl doesn't doubt her intentions, but is afraid of her getting hurt by getting mixed up with the royals. Henry is unable to decide the direction his speech needs to take, and requests Ava to discuss her sketches with him so his mind opens up more. Ava is creating shelters to help the homeless, which can be made from recycled materials. These will be inexpensive and comfortable for those in need during the time of natural disasters. Her designs are inspired by an architect who has built similar structures in places hit by hurricanes. Henry loves this idea and gets inspired to write his speech. Von Trier comes across an article that confirms Ava's ex-fiancé was arrested for financial fraud, and feels like he has hit the jackpot. Henry practices his speech with Ava, but seems stressed and uncomfortable. She suggests taking a soak in a hot tub to relax his nerves. He is glad he took her suggestion, and wishes she was staying longer so he could show her more places in his country. A tour of Friorland from the prince himself would be an opportunity she would not want to miss. When they're out of the hot tub and heading back, they come across a photographer taking their pictures. Ava panics and covers her face, while Henry tries to talk to him. He asks for Ava's name and her relationship with him, but Henry insists she is a friend and doesn't reveal anything. The photographer just wants to support his family and not cause trouble. Henry is apologetic to Ava and knows these photos will go to the highest bidder with a made-up story about them. Ava admits she shouldn't have spent so much time with him, even if she had fun. She still feels the need to stay low for a while, but promises Henry that his speech is perfect. Henry just asks her to keep Christmas Eve free for something he has planned. Von Trier shows Brigida the story he found, who offers it to the same photographer who spotted Henry and Ava together. She wants him to run the article with the photo, but the photographer refuses to ruin Ava's life like that. He wants to do his job, but feels the prince is genuinely happy with Ava. Brigida insists she is just protecting the prince, but when the photographer refuses and leaves, she shouts out that he will regret it, since she'll run the story without the photo. Von Trier approaches Henry while he is practicing his speech to inform him that Ava was engaged to someone 3 years ago who stole millions from investors. Henry believes Ava is innocent and knows her involvement in this scam is not certain. He doesn't want this to reach the press, but knows from Von Trier's expressions that it already has. Henry doesn't care for the games Von Trier and Brigida are playing with him, and wants him to know that their manipulation might keep him away from Ava, the only woman he has ever had feelings for. It's time for Henry's speech, and he knows he needs to address the nation with confidence. Henry warmly greets the nation and expresses gratitude to everyone in Friorland who has worked tirelessly to make their country recognizable to the world. He mentions the people in the country who might need help and urges people to do everything they can to serve others. He reminds people of the need to maintain peace and wants to start the year with mercy and compassion. Ava is proud of the way Henry has delivered this speech and has tears in her eyes. The king and queen are equally touched and congratulate him when he's done. Henry tries to meet Ava immediately after the address, but von Trier manages to occupy him with a call from the King of Sweden. Henry has a press debriefing he is obligated to attend, making it impossible for him to meet Ava that day. Carl and Ava discuss Henry's beautiful speech, and she feels very proud. Carl asks her to get some rest for the big day. The next morning, Brigida and von Trier distribute newspapers with front-page news questioning if the prince is getting scammed by Ava because of her past. While Brigida and Sigrid seem pleased, Henry and Ava are devastated to read about this. Henry rushes to Ava's room to check on her, but gets cornered by Brigida and Sigrid. They inform him that Ava has left, since her duties were done. Brigida feels it's best she's not associated with the royal family, after her past has been exposed. Ava has also been forbidden from contacting Henry, which makes sense to him, and he knows why she isn't picking up his calls. When he starts running to chase her to the airport, Brigida suggests he shouldn't. At this point, Henry just wants others to stop thinking about what he wants, and even ignores Sigrid's suggestion to go to the ball with him. Ava meets Carl before leaving for the airport and knows she should have kept her distance from Henry. Carl is happy he got to work with her, but feels upset he couldn't protect her from such gossip. Ava doesn't regret her time at the castle, and hugs him before leaving with her favorite polar bear. Von Trier has accessed a copy of the original court ruling, which states Ava was not involved in the fraud by her fiancé, who deceived her too. Henry always knew she was innocent, and doesn't care for von Trier's apology at that point. He keeps calling Ava from the car, but she chooses to ignore it. He then calls someone, asking them to stop Ava before she boards the flight and politely detain her. Ava is getting restless about missing her flight when Henry turns up at the location, insisting that he needed to see her. Ava knows he must have arranged this detention, and feels like she is being held captive. She discusses the article with him, which made her seem like a fraudster. She feels low because she was with her fiancé for 2 years, who ruined people's lives. No matter how hard she tries to move away from that pain, it somehow always catches up to her. Henry admires her courage a lot more now, after knowing about everything she has been through. He admits he has never felt this way about anyone, but Ava doesn't believe him. Henry's life feels brighter with her, and he doesn't want to let her go. He also finally asks her to accompany him to the Christmas ball as his date. With the way things are going at that point, Ava knows she's unwanted there, and leaves to catch her flight. Ava has boarded her flight, and still keeps ignoring calls from Henry. He feels low about her not being there, but knows he is obligated to attend the ball. He is in the middle of a conversation with the king and queen at the ball, when all eyes turn towards the door. Ava makes a grand entrance in a beautiful gown, and approaches Henry with a smile. He's very confused, since he got a confirmation from the pilot about her safe landing. Ava explains how she regretted leaving when she was already up in the air, but the pilots were kind enough to turn around and bring her back to Friorland. In an attempt to surprise him, she kept this information a secret. But von Trier knew all along, and has arranged for this meeting in whatever way he could. Henry happily calls out to him, and he apologizes to Ava and Henry for meddling and trying to keep them apart. Henry is even more shocked to learn that Brigida helped Ava with her dress, since she felt bad about the scheming, and wanted to do everything to reunite them. He doesn't want to discuss this further, and chooses to spend this time with Ava. He asks her for a dance, and they laugh at what the tabloids might say about them now. She thinks they look great together from the pictures the tabloids printed. This gives Henry an idea, and he approaches the same photographer who saw them. He politely requests him to take an official Christmas ball photo of them together. The photographer is thrilled with Henry's kindness, since he can finally go home and be with his family for Christmas. Henry and Ava spot von Trier and Brigida dancing with each other, and know that they both just need some love in their lives to help them. Henry shares with Ava that his parents have agreed to expand their country's humanitarian relief efforts to start a sustainable community housing project, which will be called Polar Green. He wants Ava to head the initiative, which means she will need to relocate to Friorland. Ava reminds him of the day they saw the northern lights and she made a wish. She remembers she promised to tell him if her wish came true, and when she kisses him, he knows it has.